What's going on, guys? It is Kyle from Subtle Cinematics, and I'm back with you guys to talk about some more business advice. Today we are starting a new series. The series is Accounting Within Video Production. I know what you're thinking. Accounting, that sounds boring. I don't want to watch this video. It's not as engaging as a gear review or a behind-the-scenes music video. But at the end of the day, accounting is very important to becoming successful in the world of video production. Whether you are a freelancer, you're looking to start your own video production company and hire employees, or whatever creative industry you are working in, could be photography, graphic design, this content is going to be relative and important for you guys. Today is the first video of our video production accounting series with myself, where I'm going to help you guys learn accounting, not to the extent of an accountant, but how to clean up your books so that you can successfully run your own business. Little backstory about myself. I'm not an accountant. However, I did study accounting through my university degree. I have a finance degree, but I studied accounting for about 4 years throughout my tenure at university. So I have about an intermediate understanding. Now, a lot of the stuff that I am going to talk about is relative to Canada. So if you're coming from the States or another country outside of North America, some of the stuff I talk about might not be entirely relevant, but the general concepts certainly can be applied to whichever country you are watching this from. So let's start with the general accounting equation. This is assets equals liabilities plus shareholders' equity. This equation is something that you're going to hear me say a lot throughout the course of this series. And it's something that we use as a tool to make sure that we are doing the proper job with respect to accounting. So today's topic is what is an expense, and then how to record that in QuickBooks. So quick disclaimer, we are not sponsored by QuickBooks. I've been using the software for about 4 years with a bunch of different businesses that I have been a part of. There's a lot of cool little tips and tricks that you're going to learn along the way within this series that can help you automate your accounting and record all of that properly so that at year end, you don't end up spending more money to pay an accountant to come clean up the work. So an expense is the cost of something, the cost of doing business. A couple examples of expenses that we at Subtle Cinematics incur would be things like rent expense. Another utility expense would be the cost of our internet. Another example that I could give you is, let's say I was going to meet with a new prospective client and I offered to go for lunch with that client. That meal is ultimately a cost of me doing business, trying to land a new client that I can then expense in my accounting, which will help me save money come tax time. If you guys are new to this channel, welcome. We cover a lot of filmmaking advice, whether that's in the world of behind the scenes content, gear reviews, or entrepreneurship and business advice. If you guys are new, hit that subscribe button down below. And if you're starting to get value from this video, hit the thumbs up because it does help us. We're trying to get in front of more creatives like yourself so that we can ultimately help others learn and go full-time in the world of filmmaking. As I mentioned, guys, we use QuickBooks here at Subtle Cinematics, so I'm going to take you guys into the QuickBooks software here on my computer and give you a quick little tutorial on how to properly record an expense, how to create the expense account, and give you the information so that you can properly do this on your own time. Once you set up the accounts and record a couple expenses yourself, you're going to realize how quick and easy this is. And you can actually set up automations within QuickBooks software so that when my credit card pays for something, there's an automation that within QuickBooks, it will identify that that purchase was me purchasing gas from the Co-op gas station here in Regina, Saskatchewan. And you can actually set up the automation so that when it identifies the cost over a certain amount of money or the location or the store that you bought something from, it can actually automatically input that into your accounting software for you. This is going to save you a ton of time because I know that a lot of you guys are creatives and what you might lack is some of the business knowledge in order to get your business to the next level or become full-time. A software like QuickBooks allows you to automate these things, which will allow you guys to spend more time filming videos, editing videos, doing the creative aspect that you guys all love to do. So let's hop into the software. So as you guys can see, we're going to blur out some of the numbers so you guys don't actually see the numbers of our business, but we will do this in a way that you can still understand what I'm doing so you guys can properly use QuickBooks to record an expense. So let's hop in there. So as you guys can see, we are currently looking at the dashboard for Subtle Cinematics. On the left-hand side here, we have dashboard, we have banking, we have an expense tab, sales tab, cash flow, payroll, reports, taxes, mileage, accounting. So what I'm going to show you guys is how to create an expense account. It's quite easy. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go into accounting and then the chart of accounts. So a little backstory. So the chart of accounts is your entire list of accounts within your business. It could be an asset account. It could be an expense account, which we're going to record today. It could be a liability account, a shareholder's equity account. These other topics I will cover in future videos, but today we're focusing just on expense accounts. So as you guys can see here, we are in our chart of accounts. We have the name of our accounts in this column here, the type of account, the detail type, tax rate, and then the balance. All right, guys, so as you can see here, we have the name of our accounts, the type of accounts. So starting right here with advertising is our first expense account. So under advertising, we have Facebook advertising, which is a sub-account of advertising. We run Facebook ads for our digital assets, for generating business, for the actual video production side of things as well. So that's where that goes. If we're looking to create a new expense account, we scroll up and this green button in the top right here that says new, we will click on that. Pops up a little sub window here where you can see account type. So we're going to go into that and select expenses. From there, we'll go into the detail type, and you can see that there's a variety of different expenses that your business may incur. Some of these don't apply to the video production service business that we ultimately are running, but I'll give you a couple examples and we will create an account for the purpose of this video so you guys can understand how to create an account and ultimately record your first expense within QuickBooks. All right, so we're gonna create a meals and entertainment account and use the example that I gave earlier about me purchasing a meal for a client or for our company and then how to expense that. So what we're going to do is, again, select the expenses tab here in account type, go into detail type. From there, locate our meals and entertainment detail type, and then we're going to create the name of this. So we're going to call this QuickBooks example account. I already have the actual meals and entertainment accounts set up for our business, so I don't want to replicate that and ultimately cause more work for myself and having to fix that going forward. So what you ultimately would do is you would name your account here. You can give a little description below as well. Depending on how advanced your business is, chances are you probably don't need to do an actual description, which if you're just getting started out, the chances of you having an extensive list of expenses is probably pretty slim. One thing that you can do, as I mentioned with the advertising and Facebook advertising subcategory, is right here you can see the sub account. I can check that. From here, I can enter my parent account. Because we have a long list of probably 300 different accounts within Subtle Cinematics that I've set up on QuickBooks, I usually just search it in. So if I'm looking for meals and entertainment, I'll just type in meals, and up pops meals and entertainment. So as you can see here, this is a good example of what I have set up for ours. I have company meals, tip money, and travel meals. Company meals are meals, as I mentioned before, if I was to be taking a client out for lunch in hopes that I can turn that prospective client into business for Subtle Cinematics, that is an expense that I can record and run through my business. The reason I have a separate tip money account is we don't pay taxes on tips here in Canada. I'm assuming that's probably pretty standard all across the world. So with company meals, I actually have, if I select this, for example, so with company meals, I have the tax code already set up for PST and GST so that I can record those because ultimately I need to pay those to our both federal and provincial governments at year end. So by doing this and properly setting up the tax codes, it's going to save you money in the long run, because ultimately you're going to have to hire an accountant at year end to do your tax return. So if you can nail this stuff down off the start, guys, it's going to save you a lot of money in the long run, because your accountant can then come in, quickly go through everything, looks like everything's in order, bang, 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 done your tax return quickly, saving you more money. So usually what I would do, I would create the tax account. So as you can see here in Canada, I have our software set up so that it knows that we are in Saskatchewan. So you can see GST and PST of 11%. So that's the taxes that we pay in Saskatchewan. The PST is 6% and GST is 5%. The GST is for the federal government. The PST is for the provincial government. Now, those tax rates are going to change depending on where you come from, but this is the example that I'm giving you based on a business in Regina, Saskatchewan. So again, I would select that because for meals and entertainment, we pay both PST and GST. If I was to go to a local restaurant and buy food, I'm going to get taxed 11% on that. It's important to track that, because by tracking your taxes on your accounting software, it's going to save you money in the long run. The amount of times that young creatives improperly do this expense recording is astronomical. And by not properly taking the time to learn how to do this and then execute on doing this, you're actually going to be costing yourself quite a bit of money, because if you're not saving your receipts, taking a photo of your receipts, and then entering that expense properly, chances are you aren't going to be able to claim that tax on that expense come year end, which ultimately costs you and your business more money. All right, so now that we have created our expense account, it's time to take you guys through my process on how I record an expense. So I'm a very thorough individual when it comes to accounting, and ultimately you need to be in order to properly do this. It's going to save you money in the long run by not having to pay an accountant an additional hours to go through and clean up all the mistakes that you made in your entire year of business. All right, so what I do is I take out my receipt and I lay it face up so I can see basically the cost, and I'm going to take a photo of this receipt, and then because I use Apple products, I will then airdrop that photo directly to my MacBook here. Within my accounting folder, I have all of my lists of folders that I keep documents in. So we'll go into 2020 receipts. As you can see within 2020 receipts, I have an individual folder for each month. So what I'm going to then do is take the image that I just took of that expense receipt. So let's say it is a meal of me and Anastas going out to Earl's. I took a photo of our meal receipt. I will find it in my downloads folder and I will click and drag it into the respective folder. If it's an expense that occurred in the month of November, we will go into November. And as you can see here, there is a list of expenses that we occurred in the month of November. What I usually like to do is I will label the expense receipt or the photo of that receipt by the name of the business. So Chopped Leaf on November 2nd, 2020. The reason I detail it this way is that when I go to match that expense or that receipt to the expense in QuickBooks, I can quickly just open up this folder where I have all of my expenses detailed and quickly match that receipt to the transaction. It's important to do this because come tax time, your accountant needs to see proof of receipts in order to properly claim that tax dollars against your business, your corporation, whatever your entity is. At the end of the day, if you were to get audited and you can't provide the receipts for the expenses that you claimed, but you can end up paying thousands of dollars back to the government for taxes owed that you claimed, but you don't have proof of. So it's important to be very thorough with your recording with respect to accounting. So we'll hop back into QuickBooks and we're going to create an expense. So we'll go into the expense tab here and we'll create a new transaction, expense. So payee tab, you probably can ignore this. The payee tab is if you wanted to document an expense that you paid on behalf of a business that you work for. You can actually send and attach this expense within an invoice. You can just ignore that for today. The payment account is RBC Checkings, meaning it's coming out of our checkings account. So then we'll go to payment date. So we'll pull up the photo taken on this desk of that meal. So as you can see here, the total is $53.40. The date is November 2nd, 2020. And that's the reason I put the date in the actual name of the photo, is it saves me time in the long run when I go to record it in my QuickBooks software. So the payment date, I will select November 2nd. Which category, which expense account are we going to be using? I will look up meals and entertainment, find company meals. I can add a description that says chopped leaf. And the amount, I believe, was $53.40. And I can select the sales tax. Up here, we see amounts are exclusive of tax. Because I took the total, as you can see here, I took the total of $53.40. That total actually includes the GST and PST, as you can see right here. So what we will do is we will select inclusive of tax. And then from there, we'll select our sales tax, both GST and PST of 11%. As you can see here, it's automatically going to generate what we spent for GST and PST on this meal at Chopped Leaf. The cool thing about QuickBooks, and again, the automation aspect, is that by properly recording this in the expense accounts, it's actually going to track for me the GST and PST that I owe to the government. So those are called payable accounts. We will cover that in a different topic. We're just going to stay focused on expense accounts for right now. So from there, what I do is we'll go down to the bottom left and we see the attachments section. We'll click attachments and I can actually go again to 2020 receipts, find November, and find Chopped Leaf with the exact date. So another reason why it pays off to be detail oriented with respect to accounting is that this is actually saving me time because I can just go in, I know everything is properly organized where it needs to be, select the corresponding receipt, add it to my expense, and I'm good to go. So now what I would do is I would hit save and close. I'm not going to do that because we have already recorded this expense that occurred in November and I don't want to duplicate it. But then you hit save and close, and basically what that's going to do is it's going to take the $53 out of my RBC checkings accounts on QuickBooks, not from my actual bank account because the money's already come out of the bank account. We're creating the expense to match the money that already came out on November 2nd. Within the expenses tabs, we see the entire transactions that have been documented up until December 4th, 2020. So I can scroll down and I can actually find that expense that we just temporarily recorded right here, $53.40. So as you can see, I could click this and what it's going to do, it's going to pop up Interact Purchase, Meals and Entertainment, $53.40, and in the bottom corner, you see the photo of the actual receipt. Now you can do this all through the mobile app. What I'll probably do is I'll probably create another video for you guys showing you how to do this all through the mobile app. I like to do it through the MacBook and on my computer because it allows me to properly save all of the expenses as opposed to doing that on my cell phone. It's a little bit more difficult. I hope that this video showed you that it's a lot easier than you think it is when you're using the proper software. Spend a little time to educate yourself on how to properly do this because it is going to help you in the long run. You are going to save money from paying an accountant to go through and fix all of your mistakes throughout the course of the year, as well as properly documenting your expenses will give you a proper depiction of what you owe the government or the government owes you. With all that being said, guys, that is a wrap on the video today. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.